What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a comparison between two very special phones in the mid-range price segment, and what's special about them is that they both have AMOLED panels. So this is Oppo F15 versus Samsung Galaxy A31, and both these phones are distinct in their price ranges because usually in this price range you see phones with IPS LCD panels. So with these AMOLED panels they both stand out. But I realize that many of you might be trying to decide between one of these two phones, and so it would be interesting to do a kind of a versus comparison video. The Galaxy A31 is priced at around 250 euros and rupees 42,000 here in Pakistan, while the Oppo F15 is priced at around 270 euros and rupees 45,000 here in Pakistan. So let's go ahead and see how these phones compare and then try to figure out which one of these two will be a better purchase decision for you. If you're new to the channel, then be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you're notified of all future videos. So let's first start by comparing the specs here. And obviously, you will have to give up certain things to get the AMOLED display. So the Galaxy A31 comes with a Helio P65 processor, while the Oppo F15 comes with a slightly better Helio P70. The Galaxy A31 has a Mali G52 GPU, while the Oppo F15 again has a slightly better Mali G72 GPU. The Galaxy comes with 4 gigs of RAM, while the Oppo F15 comes with 8 gigs of RAM. Both phones come with 128 gigs of storage, but the Galaxy A31 has eMMC 5.1 storage, while the Oppo F15 has faster and better UFS 2.1 storage. Both phones have 6.4-inch AMOLED displays, but while the Galaxy A31 has a big 5000 mAh battery, the Oppo F15 comes with a smaller 4025 mAh battery, but it has faster charging as well at 20 watts, while the Galaxy A31 comes with 15 watts of fast charging. Both phones come with 48 megapixel quad camera setups, and both of them have full dual SIM expansion and dedicated SD card slots, which is to say that both these phones can take 2 SIMs and a micro SD card all at the same time. So now let's first talk about the similarities between these two phones. Both phones are made of plastic, so the frame is plastic as well as the back. Both phones are also quite slim in the hand, although the Galaxy A31 does feel a slight bit thicker, but that is probably because of the bigger battery. But in terms of materials, the only real difference is that the Galaxy A31 has Gorilla Glass 3 protection on the front, while the Oppo F15 is rocking Gorilla Glass 5. The Oppo also has a deeper camera bump than the Galaxy A31, but honestly that's not a big deal to me at all. Both phones have headphone jacks, Type-C ports, and speakers at the bottom. But overall, I think that in terms of design and materials, both these phones are pretty much evenly matched, and if design and build is a priority for you, both these phones will do. Now the display is another thing where we don't see much of a difference between these two phones. Both come with 6.4-inch AMOLED panels. Both these phones come with in-display optical fingerprint sensors, and if you compare their speeds, I think the Oppo F15 definitely feels more snappy and responsive. Both have dewdrop notches on the top. The Oppo F15 does have a slightly narrower chin if that matters to you, but overall in terms of quality and day-to-day usage, I didn't really feel much of a difference. And so in terms of the display, I will call it a tie between these two phones. Now let's talk about the performance of these two phones, and I think this is where they start to diverge. Here the Oppo F15 clearly has better hardware than the Galaxy A31. Not only does it have a better processor and a better GPU, but the Oppo F15 also has UFS 2.1 storage, which is faster and better than the eMMC 5.1 storage in the Galaxy A31. And on top of all this, the Oppo F15 also has more RAM, 8 gigs to Galaxy A31's 4 gigs, allowing you to keep more apps open in memory and thereby reducing load times. Now to figure out just how much difference there is in performance, first we're going to use synthetic benchmarks. So on the Geekbench 4 side of things, you can see that the difference is not night and day. It's pretty small actually. It's a little surprising that Galaxy A31 actually has better single-core performance, which should translate into better performance with light tasks such as scrolling and using the interface, etc. But the Oppo F15 has a better multi-core score, which will result in better performance in heavier tasks such as gaming and so forth. Moving on to Antutu Benchmarks, here we see a larger difference between these two phones. One of the reasons being that this test also gives more weightage to GPU and memory performance, and here the Oppo F15 comes out as a clear winner between the two. However, on a day-to-day basis, you won't really feel much of a difference between these phones with your regular usage, social media apps, video consumption, messaging, calling, etc. Talking about gaming, both the phones can handle casual gaming, but the Oppo F15 will have an edge due to the better multi-core performance, better GPU, and faster storage. I played PUBG on both phones and both of them handled it pretty well. You could run it at HD graphics and with high frame rates. I also played COD Mobile on both phones, and on the Galaxy A31, I just had an option to play with low graphics and medium frame rates, whereas on the Oppo F15, again, high graphics and high frame rates. So in terms of gaming and in terms of overall performance, we see that the Oppo F15 has a slight edge over the Galaxy A31, and that is largely because of the more powerful processor, the better GPU, more RAM, and also faster storage. I think for casual day-to-day gaming, both of these phones should be fine, but if you had to pick one for better performance and for power usage, then I would really suggest you go for the Oppo F15, and indeed, in this sense, in terms of performance, I choose Oppo F15 as a clear winner. Moving on to the interface, the Oppo F15 comes with Oppo's Color OS, which gives you all your icons on the home screen. There's no option for the app drawer, which we all love so much, but the layout of this interface is kind of inspired by Apple's iOS. On the other side, Galaxy A31 has Samsung's One UI version 2.1, which kind of gives you the best of both worlds. So you have icons on the home screen as well as an app drawer. This interface also has been optimized for better one-handed usage. But more than anything, the biggest plus of this interface is the fact that this is almost the same interface that you see on Samsung's flagship phones. So it has been designed to deliver a premium flagship experience, yet you are able to get this in a mid-range price segment. For me personally, in the Android space, I prefer stock Android with One UI being a close second. And so between these two phones, if I had to pick one interface, I would go with Samsung's One UI. So moving on, let's talk about the battery size and charging setup on both these phones. So now here the winner is going to depend on your own personal preferences. For me, I prefer bigger batteries just because you get better battery life on a single charge, which is something that I prioritize. I don't like to charge my phones again and again, but at the same time with the Oppo, you're getting a smaller battery. However, it's going to charge much quicker. So in terms of charging speed, the F15 will charge up to 50% in half an hour, which means that full battery will take a little over an hour, which is really fast. But on the other hand, you've got the Galaxy A31 here. This phone's going to take about 1.5 to 2 hours to charge fully, which is quite a bit of time. But once it's charged fully, you won't have any issues going through a day with this phone. If your usage is light, you could go 1.5, maybe even 2 days. But the Oppo F15 is going to get you through a day. But anything above a day is going to be a bit of a stretch, especially if you use your phone extensively throughout the day. So for me, out of these two phones, in terms of battery size and battery life, I would go with the Samsung Galaxy A31. So now moving on to the cameras, I think Samsung and Oppo are both leaders in terms of mid-range camera performance. Both of them have very good cameras in the mid-range price segment. And so I think that the differences between these two phones are going to be pretty much marginal. But let's go ahead and check out what we've got. So again, let's begin by first comparing the specs. Both phones come with 48 megapixel Samsung GM2 sensors in the main camera. Both phones also have 8 megapixel ultra-wide cameras. And the rest of the sensors are where we see the differences. So the Galaxy A31 comes with 5 megapixel macro and depth sensors, while the Oppo F15 comes with 2 megapixel macro and depth sensors. And on the front, the Galaxy A31 has a 20 megapixel selfie camera, while the Oppo F15 has a 16 megapixel selfie camera. So on a purely hardware configuration basis, the Galaxy A31 is slightly better because of more megapixels on the macro and depth sensors, as well as on the selfie shooter. But obviously hardware isn't everything, and we have to see what kind of images these cameras produce. Now, right off the bat, the first obvious thing is that both these cameras produce similar results. For the price, both have good enough dynamic range thanks to the HDR, and we can see nice blue skies even on sunny days. As for color reproduction, here too both cameras give satisfactory results, and I didn't see any major color shifts. However, in certain things, the Galaxy A31 does perform a touch better. For example, the Oppo F15 tends to sharpen more aggressively than the Galaxy A31. The Oppo F15 also has a warmer color profile, while the Galaxy A31 has a cooler color profile. And this is again based on personal preference, but I tend to like cooler color temperatures more. Comparing the selfies from these phones, both phones were producing good colors and decent dynamic range in their selfies, but I think the Galaxy A31 produced better and more detailed selfies, owing to a slightly higher megapixel count. In terms of video quality, both these cameras top out at 1080p at 30 frames per second, but the Oppo F15 does have electronic image stabilization, so if video recording is a priority for you, then I would go with the Oppo F15. Now, it could be said that I'm just nitpicking here and both these cameras are equally good, but if at the end of the day I do have to pick a winner, then I would go with the Galaxy A31 just because of slightly better camera specs, more natural looking images, and also because I think that the A31 benefits from Samsung's R&D in terms of software processing and computational photography. So now that we've seen what features these phones have to offer and how they compare with one another, let's talk about your purchase decision. So we're going to talk about what type of usage you might have and which phone I think you should go for. Now, if you're an average user, I would go with the Galaxy A31 just because I think it's a bit more well-rounded with a bigger battery and a better camera. If gaming is a priority for you, then I would suggest you go for the Oppo F15 just because it's got a more powerful processor and a better GPU as well as faster storage. If you want a phone for video content consumption, then both are good, although the Galaxy A31 has a bigger battery, which means that you could watch more videos and movies before the battery runs out. If you're looking for a good camera, again, Galaxy A31 is the way to go, although the Oppo is very close behind. The Oppo F15 does have electronic image stabilization, so if video recording is a priority for you, then I would go with the Oppo F15. For power users, I would go with the Oppo F15 because it's got a better processor, more RAM, faster charging, and faster storage. If materials and design are a priority for you, then both are very similar. For casual gaming and video content consumption, I'd go with the Galaxy A31. For longer battery life, again, I would go with the Galaxy A31 because of the bigger battery. If you want better interface out of the two, then again, One UI is the way to go with the Galaxy A31. And if you want a better brand, then yet again, I think the Galaxy A31 takes it because Samsung is just a bigger brand than Oppo is. But at the end of the day, both of these phones are providing a very similar sort of experience. Both of them are going to give you that AMOLED display, which is still quite rare in the mid-range price segment. But if I had to pick one out of these two, I would probably go with the Galaxy A31, if you couldn't tell already. And that is because of the bigger battery, better interface, better camera, and an overall better brand that is Samsung. But I want to know which one you would pick out of these two. Would you go for the Oppo F15 or the Galaxy A31, and why you would pick what you would pick? Let me know in the comment section below. If this video helped, then please smash that like button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.